Thank the Force, Star Wars News Net Live. We are here for, I believe, our first ever quartet this evening, which is going to make for some fun conversation. I am joined, my name is Tyler, by the way. I am joined by Luke, by Tom, and Miguel. So this is going to be a wild ride. We have Tom with his Kylo Ren action figure in hand, and we have Miguel straight from the streets. I believe he was actually, guys, this is really fascinating. I think Miguel was actually joining like a local community that was, going around singing, like, it was like, how Christmas caroling goes on the holidays, but I think Miguel was actually doing Wicked caroling to get people really excited for Wicked for Good. So I'm really excited to hear more about Miguel's experiences doing that. And then Luke is over here fresh off of hearing me trash the new book, The Last Order. So this is gonna be a great time. We're all here. We're ready to talk about what was probably the most unexpected but thrilling Tuesday ever in Star Wars since we've been doing this for a while. Like it's been something I remember checking my phone at work going, oh my goodness, like what has happened? And I am so excited to get into all of the dirty details with you guys this evening, because I have no idea where our conversation is going to go and what shenanigans are going to happen. But the hunt for Ben Solo was shot down, and we learned that from Adam Driver. So we're going to talk all about this tonight. But first of all, how are we all doing this evening? And then on a scale of like 1 to 10, how, shocked were you by Adam Driver just coming out and saying this in an interview? And Tom, you're shaking your head already, so we'll throw it to you real quick first.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here as always every Thursday night. It's off the charts for me as far as this story. It's all I've been thinking about the last few days when it broke, and kind of mixed feelings here and there, but mostly the fanboy me really disappointed. And to me, the biggest news was how excited Adam Driver was about. He always seems so stoic in the interviews about Star Wars, and he seems like quiet, reserved. But his enthusiasm for the character really surprised me, and it made me happy and also sad that they didn't move forward and get the green light. So I'll let you guys take it away too.
Go for it, Miguel.
So we're diving right into it. There's no
it's one of those, like, what do you want me to do? Talk about why I didn't enjoy The Last Order? It's
I was expecting that, to be honest. Yes.
Okay, if you want me to, all right, here we go. Like,
listen, I'm fresh of singing Wicked Caroline, so what can I say?
No, so for those of you who are unaware, there is a new Star Wars book called The Last Order that was released this week, and it is, if you read the summary synopsis or whatever on StarWars.com, this is going to be a good rant. I've been ready for this. It says, taking place after the rise of Skywalker, Finn and Jaina, like, are
as all stories do nowadays, apparently.
As all
it's going to be called the Cursed Era instead of the sequel era.
Gosh. And it says how they're going to take on, destroy the last remnants of the First Order while reconciling their past as stormtroopers, which, believe it or not, me being a fool and naive, thought they could do that in the present timeline of post Rise of Skywalker. But instead, the 465 pages that I read, there's only about 40 to 70 pages that take place after the Rise of Skywalker. And instead, it's just all the backstory filling in what happens to them leading up to, when they either rebel as stormtroopers, like it. And Jaina, is very interesting. She talks about, we rebelled on the Battle of Ansett Island, and it builds up to that, right? So sorry, spoilers, but you already knew that if you watched The Rise of Skywalker, okay? And then Finn has this experience where he becomes a squad leader, and it shows like how the First Order manipulates people, all of these things. There's zero consequence to this story that takes place like after the Rise of Skywalker. There's no reason why it should even take place. You could eliminate every single ounce of the story that takes place after the Rise of Skywalker, and you're missing nothing. absolutely nothing. It should have just been, hey, we're going to give you a dual backstory of Finn and Jaina, like in how, they're stormtroopers and what their time was. That's all we needed. This book should have come out right before the movie. Eliminate the stuff from post Rise of Skywalker, just so you know they don't all live. And then this should just come out right before the Rise of Skywalker. And you could, like, if you're a really book nerd, you get to know this random character named Jaina who's going to play a role in the movie. And you kind of know the backstory of that character, which might add a little bit more excitement to some fans. And then you get a little bit more about Finn before the movie, or just drop it right after the movie comes out. Instead, they say this is our first post book, episode 9. And it's not a bad book. So if you go in with the right expectations, that's great. If you go in with the expectations that Star Wars themselves gave you, then you're going to be incredibly disappointed when you're reading page after page, ready to go back to the Rise of Skywalker timeline, and you just never get there. And then when you get there, it's some random dude named Coy. Shout out to Coy, but no, I don't really want to read about what Coy is up to. I'd like to know what's going on in Finn and Jaina's mind, which does not happen like ever. And instead, I'm left to wait and wonder for another 10 years, probably, if Finn has, used the Force yet, or what he thinks about feeling the Force. And, what is he still friends with Rey? Have they talked since they gave each other that really long and emotional hug after episode 9? We might never know at this point, okay? And I'm very disappointed.
So Rey is not in the book at all.
Mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Mention. Poe's in it for about 2.5 pages. If you're excited about that, let's go. Yeah, he like is leaning back, going like, "Yeah, that's Black Squadron, my guy." To Coy, like, "Yeah, I'm Black Leader, Poe Dameron here," and it was just, and I don't want to trash the book because I hate trashing a book, because like I know like writing is incredibly difficult. Like anyone who's ever written, it's incredibly difficult to write a full novel, and a lot of times these authors are giving kind of what the general story needs to be from Lucasfilm. They're like, hey, like we want this kind of a story. So the author probably was told like, hey, this is more of a backstory book. I'm more upset at Star Wars and the publishing department telling us that this is a post episode 9 like book. Like that's where the meat and potatoes is, which it's not at all. It's just, to me, it was, I just felt like I was fed disinformation for months, and then basically just read a filler book, which is fine. I like a good backstory to my characters, but don't tell me it's not what it just wasn't what it was going to be at all. So
you got that off your chest now.
Yeah,
it was just frustrating because you learn we get the hunt for Ben Solo, and that was a possible post episode 9 story that is never going to happen. The Rey movie is just never going to happen. So I thought like maybe it will. I hope it does, but it feels like it won't. And then we have this book that's taking place after episode 9, right? And I'm thinking this might be a small win for people that are really excited for these, sequel era characters to get a story or learning what's happening next in Star Wars. And it just felt like another like, gotcha, you thought. And, they're laughing themselves to sleep right now after I pre-ordered that slop, it's frustrating.
I mean, I look at it a bit differently. Obviously, I didn't buy the book or read it yet, but to me, it's like they didn't want to do anything substantial after Rise of Skywalker, because precisely by the time they greenlit the book, or they were writing the book, they were probably developing Hunt for Ben Solo. They were probably developing the Rey movie. They were probably starting to talk to Simon Kinberg. They were probably developing Starfighter. So it's like the story group was like going to the author, like, okay, you can write this story, but bear in mind, you cannot do anything after Rise of Skywalker, because we actually have all of. I mean, they didn't tell this to the author, obviously, but they didn't want to be contradictory later on, which, of course, is fine. I mean, I understand the point. I understand the point of they sold this as something that it wasn't, and so that is a fair point, and probably something that StarWars.com should have reconsidered, or whoever wrote the synopsis.
Yeah, that's what my gripe is, because like the author, I'm sure It's a good book. Like, I think if I read this under different circumstances, expectations, I feel differently. That was the frustrating part. So I know
Yeah.
Luke said he's gonna buy it in the new year and he's gonna try to go in with the right expectations, and maybe he'll tell me the right critique of the book whenever he's not going in thinking it's one thing but it's not.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a fellow reader, avid reader, so I do plan on reading every single Star Wars book in canon. I'm probably gonna complete that next year, but it's I trust your judgment a lot, Tyler, on the book side of things, and all things Star Wars. And so to hear your review not be glowing like it very often is for the books, I think the
Mhm.
book side of Star Wars, it's a niche community, but it's usually strong, pumps out good stories if you take the time to read them. So it is it's disheartening for me to
Mhm.
hear something that doesn't fire on all cylinders when that's normally the case. So it's
Yeah.
a little
I don't think it's a bad book.
sad.
I
Yeah,
just wasn't when I was thinking it was gonna be.
yeah,
That's me. I just to reframe my
misaligned.
expectations.
Yeah,
But that's okay.
So
We'll
all of
be
that
fine.
being said, let's now go back
Let's-
to
Yes.
Right.
crazy
So Adam,
week.
yeah. So Adam Driver said that for
Right.
years they had planned, and he had worked with director Steven Soderbergh to develop a Hunt for Ben Solo movie. They had a script, Lucasfilm, just in short, because at this point people know what happened for the most part. I would say the people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
kind of understand the gist of this, which was Adam Driver ready to come back as Ben Solo. He had worked with very talented people to create a script and a story idea for this movie. Kathleen liked it. Dave liked it. Carrie Beck liked it. They said yes to it, and it was brought up. And according to Adam Driver, Bob Iger said no, and they
And
got
Alan
shot
Bergman.
down. What?
Alan Bergman, like
And Adam Bergman said no, and it was shut down and scrapped, and we never heard from it again.
Yeah.
There's two things that I want to say for me personally were the most significant here that I have latched onto. Number one has to be Adam Driver adamantly wanting to come
Yes.
back in Star Wars and keep going. I have always been I think all of us have talked about this, felt Adam Driver was done with Star Wars, was moving on to other things, and didn't really
of the
necessarily
main
want
four,
to
he was
come back.
of the main four, he was the least likely to
Mhm.
want to come back.
Yeah, and it's clearly that is not the case at all. He's actively been wanting and was trying and very excited to come back and tell more stories as Ben Solo. So that was number one for me. And I'm just worried. I was like, is this gonna? I hope that what happened didn't sour that for him. Like he would still want to come back. That's not something that he's like, you know what? At the time, yeah, now I'm over it because it's been 4 years and I'm disappointed and frustrated. And no, the second thing is that it seems like Lucasfilm has very actively been wanting to tell stories with the sequel characters after The Rise of Skywalker for years now. And there's been a number of things that have been on the table that haven't actually, gone through. There was the David Fincher story as well. And this was another one. The Hunt for Ben Solo was the one that's gained, the most steam. This is the big one because Adam Driver himself was talking about it. So that's the second thing is Lucasfilm it seemed like has been trying to do this. And Disney came in on this one and said no. And the other ones, for other reasons. So that's the second thing where I think we talked last week on this show. Have they been embracing the sequel era? Have they embraced the sequel trilogy? And we were like, I don't know if they have, but it seems Lucasfilm has, and for outside reasons they haven't. And it just makes me wonder what Bob Iger or other Disney execs said no to that Lucasfilm has, been wanting to do. That whole hypothetical question looms in the back of my head as well. And so I'll just kind of throw it out there to you guys. Just those are my top takeaways, and there's plenty of talking points that we can branch off from that perspective as well, because this is a fascinating time, and the unity around Star Wars too. I know Tom's going to hit on that for sure. That's one that's very interesting.
It was
So-
refreshing to see people come out and kind of be united. Even the people that weren't too thrilled with the sequel trilogy as a whole, The Rise of Skywalker, they were saying, that would have been a cool movie. That would have been very interesting to see Kylo Ren Ben Solo, directed by Steven Soderbergh. And to see what they would have done, post Rise of Skywalker, how they would have brought him back, what the story would have been, very exciting. But all of those feelings aside, I was thinking about the time period. So if you're thinking 2021, Disney at that point was leaning heavily into streaming. They were about to get, was that when Andor was in production? They were pushing their shows. It's very interesting to me. I still don't understand it because I heard a commentator talking about all the things that were going on at that time. They were working on multiple Disney Plus shows at the time. I'm trying to put the timeline back in order, but they were leaning heavily there. But to the counterpoint of that, it's like we're seeing that Disney, I'm sorry, Lucasfilm was trying to get Star Wars movies made. And they were going after big directors and taking big swings. It's very interesting to see. And none of that, it's interesting that we're learning about it now. I know it's only been a few years, but there was really no talk of any of this. We were so surprised by the story. So it's just interesting to see how it kind of also showing a little bit how Disney, I feel like, I mean, are they do they have that tight a grip on Marvel? Are they going to tell Kevin Feige no to certain things? So it's very interesting to see the relationship that they have with Lucasfilm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay.
Go ahead. No. Yeah.
Let me back up for a second, because it was Monday night for me when this story dropped, and it was so I was like working a bit late that day. And so I was finishing up something, I cannot remember what exactly now. And we got this text from Nate posting this story. And he's like, he commented right after saying, there's apparently some interesting Star Wars stuff here from Adam Driver. And I'm like, okay, listen, Adam Driver, big fan, but what can he have to say at this moment that I cannot wait 30 minutes for me to finish up this thing that I'm doing, and then I'm just gonna write the story up. And so I did that. It was 30 minutes, and I started writing. I started reading the story. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did I not actually start writing this off immediately off when we got the news? Because by that point it was had already been posted for an hour. So we were one of the first, but we were not entirely the first ones. And so I immediately regretted not reading the actual body of the article, at least the main points. When we got the link. And so this was a crazy story. And yeah, it's always fun when we get this behind the scenes details of they were actually working on this and this thing happened. I am trusting the source, but to a degree. I don't think it's been funny seeing this week how basically the entire internet is now not mad at Kathleen Kennedy anymore. They actually are defending her and are now just mad at Bob Iger, just because Adam Driver said something in an interview. It's also funny to remember that Kathleen Kennedy has her own publicist who has been doing I don't want to say a terrible job, but she's had a profile that has not been fixed for many years, and now Adam Driver says 3 words and all of the sudden she's a saint. And so that's inherently funny for me.
But it's also exciting because you see Star Wars. It's weird because I don't think this happens in other fandoms, but the way a Star Wars tidal wave can still just go crazy online after, even with the fandom as disparate as it's been and divided as it's been and rampant, and feels like sometimes it's dissipating. And then like you said, Adam Driver comments come out, and I went on Bob Iger's Instagram account today, and I clicked the last 5 posts, and I was scrolling hundreds of comments on every post, and it's all just people trolling Bob Iger about the hunt for Ben Solo. It just every single one, and even one like I am exploding you with my brain right now. Like Ben Solo needs to live. Like it is insane, and that's just like Star Wars fans are insane. But the fact that something like that can have a tidal wave effect, it is frustrating. It is when we find out things are taken away from us, because it's also, even if we don't know if we want them, right? But it is exciting to think that if there are projects out there that can at least, or ideas that can unite Star Wars fans, when they do happen, if we ever get that someday, like on a real level, like a movie that just genuinely spurs, like it's going to just, Star Wars is going to be back on a whole new level again. Like, and I think that I thought that we never might get the highs of The Force Awakens ever again. I don't know if we will, but that something like this happens and it's just boom, Star Wars take over for a few days over like a big nothing burger in some ways. And I'm like, it could still happen someday. That almost gives me some level of hope.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Again, I'm trusting the source, but at the same time, I don't think that what he said is 100% what's happened. Like, I don't think that everyone was jumping up and down in, Kathy Kennedy's office, and it's like, then Bob Iger comes in and he's the party pooper. I think that that's a very naive picture of what probably happened, and I don't know, because nobody else has come out. I mean, Steven Soderbergh had a statement to say, and like, yeah, I was excited for the movie, but it's like, okay, but what exactly happened, and we will probably never know. And so yeah, there's that. I don't know. I have more things to say, but look, you've been not really had a say yet, so please go ahead and say your piece.
I will say, I think you guys have covered a lot of great things. I'll put in a little comment that the reason that was given from Bob Iger, or maybe his team, was, well, we just don't see how he would be alive after they just made a movie where Palpatine somehow returned. I mean,
Okay.
The back and forth of like, well, we'll make this, but I don't see how we could make that. And it's Star Wars. This is a very soft magic system. You don't have to have a hard explanation for things, and they can work really well. I mean, that's not the point of the universe. The universe is to tell a good story, and Adam Driver is a very good actor. I love Kylo Ren. I love Adam Driver. I love all the things he's in. So obviously, I'm like a huge proponent of getting him back in. I think also I want to echo the point that has been said multiple times. I was super shocked to hear that he wanted to come back so bad. I think that was super shock. I feel like he was kind of following the Solo lineage of like Harrison Ford being like, screw Star Wars, like I did my thing, I'm out. Like I kind of figured he was like, he's the son of Han Solo. He's, kind of taking that mantle of like I'm kind of done. I did my 3 movies and like I'm never touching that again. I'm going to go do my indie projects. And so to hear, just a couple of years after The Rise of Skywalker, it was shocking to me that he wanted to come back so bad and he loved the character so much. Makes me really happy, honestly, right now to know that that is his feelings, which then crest falls me into like, it didn't get made, and like he wanted it bad, and I do too, and I'm on his team, and so it's a roller coaster of emotions for probably all of us, for most people. And so I think that's what has united people, is we all feel like we were on the same ride here with the information that got leaked to us, as we all were like, oh, really? Oh man, but it didn't get made. So we've all been on this journey now in the past couple of days. We've shared it.
I don't know if Miguel and I talked about this too, and I think Miguel feels a little more strongly about this than I do, in that I don't know if this idea of bringing him back like physically, like as alive, is a great idea. And because I don't necessarily want to just completely undermine everything that happened in The Rise of Skywalker. And there's part of me that thinks if this had been announced in 2021 as the next movie that's taking place, like an episode 10 type story, then the people, right, a lot of people right now that are up in arms about this would be like, see, The Rise of Skywalker sucked. And the reason it sucked, we have to do this whole movie to retcon what just happened in The Rise of Skywalker. But at the same time, I also understand that you could easily explain things in Star Wars with more Star Wars. And they created the whole dyad thing in Star Wars in episode 9, a power like life itself. You could easily play into that. The world between worlds exists. Just it's some weird force thing. I don't know. You could easily do it, and I would believe it if you tell if the story is good enough. Like it's like one of those things where I'm fine with it. I mean, I do this, and I apologize because people are probably sick of it by now. But Star Trek had a whole show with the original series, and then a couple of movies, and then Spock dies in that movie in this very emotional way, sacrificing himself for his friend. One of the most famous, movie lines ever that he says to Kirk at the end. And the very next movie, they just resurrect Spock and bring him back. And some people think he should have stayed dead. Some people are like, yeah, Spock is back. But I really don't. I don't think that at the end of the day, if the hunt for Ben Solo had been obviously it's art is not necessarily, this is good, this is bad. But if the movie is quote unquote a really good story, for the most part, people I don't think are going to care about whether or not Ben Solo should have stayed dead or not. But Miguel, you had something. I'll throw it to you here because you said something where it was like, this might have been an idea where at the time we're really excited. And then a few years later, like, what the heck? Like, that was a terrible idea. Like, why on earth did that happen?
This is precisely my point in that, okay, so I get very frustrated about this argument of, okay, you did the Palpatine returned and now you cannot do this. And it's like, yes, that's precisely the point, that we learned from the mistake of saying somehow Palpatine returned. That did not work, and therefore we should not explore that again, because that was like, it's still ridiculed by now. And it's like a very naive argument and short-sighted, I think, that again, if we didn't know any of this and had this movie been announced in Celebration 2023, it's like, okay, Adam Driver is returning and we're doing this. It's like, okay, I'm excited about Adam Driver, but I feel like this movie is gonna get a 160 million budget. Is gonna come out. Probably people are gonna see it, and then we're just gonna be like down the middle quality on this. Okay, it was good for this, bad for that, and then 5 years later, we're just gonna remember that, okay, this was the movie that where the character had died, but then he didn't, and it's like it's confusing. And why is like, I think that we're making this out to be a much better movie in our head than it probably would have been. I'm not saying it would have been a bad movie, but I'm just saying that I think that Bob Iger was right here. And I've thought this from the beginning, and we discussed this in our chat on Monday, and I was probably the only one at the time. Not many people raised their voices. And then we're now working on a roundtable article where most of us are giving our takes. I'm just surprised by reading it that most people in our staff agree with me, is that this was the right call. This movie was probably not the best thing to make right after Rise of Skywalker. Would it be a fun idea today? Maybe. Had Kathleen Kennedy announced this at Celebration this year and said, okay, we're doing this, maybe would have been an interesting idea. But to me, the biggest question is, okay, Bob Iger said this. Bob Iger said, why is he alive? Or Alan Bergman said that. But what was the answer? Because he didn't give an answer. He was just, and they said no, and that was it. And it's like, okay, but first of all, if your story was so strong, that would be like that. The story should justify that answer. So if you make a really strong story that you really feel like justified its existence, and Bob Iger still said no, then maybe we can discuss it. But since we're lacking the details, I don't have enough here to just go around. So
let me put on the tinfoil hat, and I'm gonna put on the tinfoil hat here and give my some conspiracies, and I'll throw it to Tom. First of all, why give the details to your story? Let's throw it out there. We don't need to know. Like, let's see what people think just by throwing this, garbage out here. Maybe we're trying to get that word of mouth going. We're trying to do that. Also, Bob Iger, they didn't, how is he alive? Like all of this, like who is Bob Iger to tell me what a good story is or isn't? You don't need to know that. You just need to know that they told you couldn't have this, but would you like to have this? Is this something that you're interested in? Like, are we gauging interest for this? Just to kind of see what this looks like online. And then Star
Yeah.
Wars just happens to drop they're capitalizing off the Ben Solo searches and everything on YouTube, but they just happen to drop the Rey Ben Solo versus Palpatine. You can't tell me there's not some level of subliminal messaging going on here in all of this. And then I have a hard time thinking that they don't have a good idea for the story for Star Wars of why he's alive. If, they spent that time creating it, and then you had Kathleen Dave and Carrie Beck all going, yeah, like this sounds good to us, too. Like, that's a lot of Star Wars people that are good with this.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just putting the hat on. I'm like, I can
but
get
I'm
there.
saying Dave is also the guy who was like, I'm just gonna resurrect Darth Maul, whatever it takes, just because I want to tell more stories with him.
Best idea ever.
I think that was a Lucas thing. I think Lucas pushed him to
Probably, yeah. No, you're right.
resurrect him, and he
And
said,
that,
"I'm gonna do it."
that was a great idea.
But
I do have my conspiracy theory about this, but I will let Tom take it for now.
no, I was gonna be a little bit more conspiracy theory, and I don't like doing this, but I thought it's fun to throw in there. I said,
yes.
geez, I said the buzz for this movie that we never got, and like you said, that's a great quote too, Salvador, by the way. What you said earlier, that feeling something taken away from you, you have stronger feelings about than being given something that, and I agree with you, Miguel, there were a lot going against it working well. There were a lot of things that were not in its favor, but supposing that now the buzz for this movie, I said, is kind of eclipsing. No one's talking about Mandalorian and Grogu. There was a blurb about Starfighter. One of the actors said a few things, but I feel like the buzz this whole week has just been about this movie that we're probably never going to get. But wouldn't that be a genius marketing to just, I don't know. I'll just throw it out there. But again, I don't like to theorize that crazy from a conspiracy side, but it's got people talking. It's very interesting. And again, to your point, Miguel, I agree with a lot of things you said. The fanboy in me said, jumped at the chance of getting something like this, but would it have really delivered? I don't know. And like you said, of course, Bob Iger and Alan Bergman turning it down, but what was the answer? What did they give them in the story that would justify it? So there's a lot of questions, but I don't think this story is going to go away. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it is now, but I think you're going to see people at Celebration with shirts and merch from this movie that we're probably never going to see. Just it's going to come up in interviews. It's going to come up in Q&As. So it's very interesting. A very interesting way that the fan base got united around this.
And I will say too, to back up Luke a little bit, there's way more meat on the bone to bringing back Ben Solo than there ever was to bring back Palpatine. Like they did, because I think the dyad that they created in Episode 9 as this new Force thing, I think you can really do a lot of that can do a lot of the legwork for you, because this is a brand new Force lore element that you're bringing into this, and you're building upon the base that you already established, to where it's not like anyone could go through and be like, well, that doesn't make sense in Star. Well, no, we're reinventing some of this in Star Wars, and it Tom, in the comments here, Tom has mentioned this a lot too. Is like Lucas said, bring him back, figure it out. It's one of those, bring him back, figure it out. There is a weight that Ben Solo would bring to a story that no one else really can. Even Rey to some degree, and Rey's my favorite character in the sequel trilogy. And so, bringing them back in some way makes a lot of sense. But anyway, well, I think
it could have. I think it could have. I mean, an easy way to tackle that. Not that we're trying to make a movie here live with you guys, but he doesn't need to physically come back in the flesh on a planet. I think you could have some dual parallel storytelling going on in a movie where a good chunk of it is happening with a Force ghost that's talking to her, or battling a spiritual battle, something that we haven't seen before in Star Wars, where a good portion of it is taking place in an ethereal, just bring something new to Star Wars. I think that's what the sequel trilogy could have done better, did kind of like trying to push Star Wars forward, which sometimes people don't like in the moment, but they end up coming around to it. So I think we could have gone for something, a big swing, like we've said multiple times on the show already. Like they were trying for big swings, so it stinks that
When was the
we
last
didn't hit 'em.
time we saw Star Wars social media like this universally like outraged over or like just upset in a unified way over something? I can't remember a time Star Wars was universally this excited about something. Like I genuinely can't. Maybe season 2 of The Mandalorian, as
Yeah.
when it was winding
Everybody was
down.
on board.
Like
Yeah.
I think most people really
Hayden being
liked it.
back, maybe.
Maybe
Hayden being back, yeah.
I still don't think so, just because I think there's a lot of critics of Ahsoka. I think a lot of critics of Ahsoka.
It's because I agree. I've been wondering all week how much of this is just our own bias, like the social media algorithm feeding us a specific portion where there's another portion that is loudly complaining about this. We do have a lot of comments on our articles of people saying this movie should not have happened. But on Twitter, it is true that the discourse that I've been seeing has been different. To me, the one of the most frustrating things about this discourse has been that most people, what they're arguing is this movie should have happened because Adam Driver wanted to do it, and because Kathleen Kennedy and Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni were excited about it, which to me is not a reason to make a movie. The reason to make a movie should have been the story. And if the story was not justifying the existence of the movie, but by not explaining why Ben Solo was alive, then we have a problem. I agree that maybe we can solve this, but I do think that this argument of you used somehow Palpatine returned once, can you not use it again, is a double-edged sword, because you're thinking that now, but had this movie come out and said something similar, you'd have been, oh, this again. Like it's to me it's like rewriting history in hindsight, and I don't
Why
necessarily
not
like that.
though with the conspiracies again, like just for fun? Like, that's what it's all about. Yeah, okay.
Let me get to the conspiracy later. So been checking out some of these complaints about this, and I think that the person who convinced me the most that this could have been a good story doesn't necessarily mean that I agree that this should have been made at all. But the person who convinced me that maybe was worth having a shot at it was Alex Damon from Star Wars Explained, who basically explained, okay, we've had this story of Darth Vader in the past, it's very similar, being to that of Ben Solo's, which was like redemption, but we haven't had a story of atonement.
Exactly.
And it's like,
I watched that video too.
Is
Yes.
this movie interesting enough to say anything about that? To say anything about what Ben Solo did? How what Kylo Ren did during all of these years? How is that going to affect a Ben Solo moving forward? And that still does not solve the problem of bringing Ben back, and how that climax of Rise of Skywalker, which I still do not like, and I still do not like the climax either. But it's not like he was. It's not like the movie finished with him being thrown away by Palpatine and like being thrown down the garbage compactor, and you don't know whether. I mean, you probably assume that he's dead, but you don't actually see his body. So you're maybe like, oh, maybe this was like a self-sacrifice to bring Rey back, and it would have undone a lot of that. So I'll just finish up with the conspiracy theory, like my wild conspiracy here, and you can just take it up from there. My thing about this is that yes, I do think that there's a possibility that this was a marketing move from Lucasfilm, but not about making this movie. I think that they just agreed that this movie was not gonna get made. But I think that this was this could have been Lucasfilm gauging interest for sequel trilogy characters, because I
Hmm.
don't think that they are sure that there's enough interest in the fan base to see more stories from these characters.
Good
And
point.
I think that this is one of the things that have held the Rey movie up for years. Not just development hell, but also like, are we sure that this is what we want to make? And this was a good indicator that yes, there's more interest in these characters in these movies than you might think from other conversations. Because you also had like the Leia and Rey book a couple of weeks ago announced, which
Right.
was like a much small time a much more small time announcement, but also maybe speaks to that. And you can also maybe use this to ask, okay, what if we actually brought Adam Driver as a Force Ghost in the Rey movie or in the Simon Kinberg movies? Is that something that the fan base would be excited about? Not that we're doing it, but what if? And that is a conspiracy that I actually do buy. So please, I don't know who goes next,
Makes
but
Like that, the story of Atonement just fills in perfectly with where it could go next. And I just think about, like we talked about the dyad, like there could easily be something related to the dyad where he is still there, and maybe and this is a way that you can bring other Force ghosts into play, or people from his past and present. Like you could have Daisy be in this movie, and Finn even, or Hayden could be there, and other characters, right? And he has to go on this journey to like earn his way back into the present and earn his way back to quote unquote like freedom. And then he's entered back into the galaxy, and now there's a whole new level of atonement that goes on, because he now has to live with what he's done, and these people that are interacting with him. And so I really hope that there is a way to explore that, because as much as I agree with you, it kind of makes sense he should stay dead. When I think of Ben Solo, and I think of how you want to see him next, given how little we really saw of Ben Solo and how excited I am, the idea of seeing him just simply as some Force ghost guiding me on my journey, man, it just doesn't feel it doesn't feel enough. Like it doesn't feel like enough for me. I almost am saying like maybe just don't even have him in there rather than just tease me with a little Force ghost here. But I also not going to say no to Adam Driver either, but like they don't even have to release details for. That's where I wonder if this story, how real the script, what part of it was. Like, did they have like a real legitimate like script that they were going, or was this just a general idea? Because why not, if you're free to talk about this now, why not just talk about some of the ideas that you did have like in that script, like that of why he would come back, how he would come back, where the story was going, unless you're just like you said, trying to throw stuff out there to see like, is there a general interest in this character?
I mean, well, first of all, I don't know to what extent this was. Adam Driver got up in the morning and said, "Oh, I'm just gonna drop a bomb." I think that they were just casually talking, and this came up, and I think that maybe he has forgotten by now the talking points that he has when he's talking about Star Wars, and he was like, "Okay, I can talk about this now. Let me just give you. I'm not gonna give you the start because it's probably not relevant. It's just so we're talking. Since we're talking, like we were actually discussing this, and things fell through, and that was that. And now I wanted to come back, but it is what it is."
What weird, because he gets asked about Star Wars all the time. Like, I'm sure it is just like randomly today is
But I
the
don't think
day
that he does that many interviews.
That's fair.
So starting there, I don't know. I had another point, but now I forgot. So I don't know if Tom or Luke want to say something.
He's in need of a box office win too.
I think
that is a massive
Yeah.
thing to consider here as well, because since Rise of Skywalker, he has not, first of all, opened a movie, and second of all, been in a movie that has been actually successful. So yeah,
I think the atonement, when you mentioned that, because I watched that video too with Star Wars Explained, it was really interesting because you kind of felt, whatever you thought about the end of Rise of Skywalker, I always wanted him to live and maybe just go into exile or something, because you felt like he did need that atonement. So the idea of like, and I think Palpatine returned. It wasn't. I didn't have a problem so much with that he returned, but just the way it was explained. They could have went so many ways to just do it. It was probably done poorly. And they could, if they found a way, he disappears, but he doesn't appear at the end of the Force Ghost with Luke and Leia. But I think the atonement angle really interests me, to see him maybe, going through all those things to just, I guess, his journey back to the light side, and in a kind of spiritual, like, way, depending on how they would do it. That kind of interests me. I would love to see something like that, because I felt he did have unfinished business at the end of the movie. But
yeah, this was my other point, that this what you guys, both of you, are talking about is probably what Adam Driver feels like at the moment. It's like, I had this very nice arc laid out for me, and I never got the chance to actually fulfill the promise of the last act of Rise of Skywalker. So I understand that from that point of view, and I understand his frustration at, why was I killed? Like, maybe there's like some magic way that I can be brought back and actually explore all of this. And yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I'm still not. I do understand all of these points. I still don't know that it would have justified the existence of the movie just based on Adam Driver's quote. Like, we're making up the movie as we're speaking now. We don't know that this is what the movie was about.
Well, I
So-
also heard from my sources that Bob Iger rejected, like, Luke, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and Carrie Beck. They greenlit my High Republic episodic Jedi show for Disney Plus. Like, it was greenlit. We had a script ready too, and they said no. Bob Iger said no. He said no, and we had 20 episodes done in a season 2 already in the works, and they said no on that. And so, maybe that can gain some traction too. Hunt for Ben Solo, and then hashtag make High Republic happen. But we'll see. That no one's talking about my story. No one's talking about my show that got canceled.
You probably have to wait a few months for that. Like, now it's too much heat for the Ben Solo story.
The interesting thing is that Kathleen Kennedy is due to exit at the end of the year, or there's talk about that, and for her to go out like almost like a hero now is kind of an interesting angle. So I don't know if that has anything in there. But
I have a question for Luke, and we can get back at the Kathleen Kennedy, but I saw this video today, and I just wanted to know if it's from your burner account, Luke, like, one of your burners. And it was the Avengers assemble, like when all the Avengers come out, in game, and they're all coming. Doctor Strange is like getting them all out there, and it's every single one. It just gives a little name. It's like the sequel haters, and then Gamora is like, there's like the prequel lovers, and then the sequel lovers. It's Kathleen. It's just all these different like Star Wars like subgroups that were popping in, and then it goes the Raylos were like Ant-Man coming up, punching his way through at the end. Iron Man opens up like his suit and says Dave Filoni or something, and then it goes over to Thanos and just says Bob Iger pointing, and then it's like Alex Bregman is one of the minions running, and then like the whole army's running, and it just says Disney corporate bootlickers, and it just made me laugh. So I just had to ask Luke, like, was this something you did in your spare time? Is this one of your burners? I feel like that's something you would have concocted.
I've spent every hour since Tuesday afternoon making this video and rendering it and saving it. I've definitely seen a lot of. I see a lot of funny stuff on my Twitter, anyways. And Tyler, I send a lot of it to you. So no, I will say I have enjoyed the amount of discourse it's caused. I feel like this. Nothing Burger, as it's been called earlier tonight, has caused more discourse and talking about things than like the Mando and Grogu trailer or anything has. Like, it's actually made people like talk about things and how they experience this and what they would have wanted, and it's got people talking, it's got people engaging.
Mhm.
So, and that's what we've talked about also night too, is it could have been a potential, like, are people interested? I think that's an interesting take, that like, was this planned? It doesn't, I don't know, did they get Adam Driver to like, hey, I'm going to text Adam Driver, you should mention this in your interview today? So who knows what's going on behind the scenes, but
He just got a text from a burner phone somewhere. It's like, the time has come. Execute
Order
order
67.
hunt
the
for
dead
Ben
speak.
Solo. Dead speak. He just got a text like, it's time. That's all they got. He just woke up, put on those high-waisted pants, in the morning, did his shirtless, routine, and
interview,
walked in.
it belongs to me.
Bob Iger said, blow that piece of junk out of the
Ah,
sky.
sky.
They said, Adam, are you wanting to be in more Star Wars? He said, more? More? More?
See, this is the stuff that I love about the Star Wars community, when, even though people are kind of like feel cheated and but we all kind of came together, and like we can laugh about it too. And it's good that it's not people fighting against each other. I mean, I know people probably are very opinionated, but I don't know. I kind of like, this fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Well,
what
it
it's
was less
done
of
fandom.
a. It was
Hopefully
less of
it'll
a.
stay
Is
that
this
way.
project good? Is this project bad? Or this is good? This sucks. This is my favorite thing ever. Or this
Yeah.
should have never been made. And more about it's like I mentioned this before we started. Everyone is always excited when they are given something, right? Or maybe it's not the gift that they wanted. But even if they didn't want this movie, or they did, but they feel like something was taken away from them, someone you feel violated, you feel taken advantage of, like you made that decision for us, Bob Iger. How dare you, interfere in Star Wars? How dare you, tell them what they can't do and what we can't have? And people get more upset over that, where even the Star Wars theory guy is making a video talking about bringing back Adam Driver. That's when you know that
Complaining
we've
about not
reached
doing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you know that you've reached a different level with this kind of a story. And it's fascinating when you got two movies, one coming out next year and another that's in production right now, and this is what we're talking about.
I did have the thought today, okay, wouldn't it be like super funny if the video that they shared of the fight between Rey and Ben against Palpatine actually got a significant portion of the views that the Mando and Grogu trailer did? But I checked, and it was like 65,000 views, which
Okay.
was nothing. I mean, whoever thought about, I'm just going to capitalize on the Ben Solo searches, was like, listen, I don't think that worked.
Or it was just a schedule. Somehow it was just a scheduled post for months that they just had on the thing, and it just happened. Someone
I
woke up and goes,
wish.
I did pretty good on this. The foresight.
Get out of business, go back to your drinks.
Yeah.
So like he's getting a call from like whoever's in charge of just the scheduling is like, hey, what were you thinking? Like trying to add fuel. He's like, what are you talking about? We've had this book, queued for weeks. And he's now someone's like putting out fires over there. And then going over the schedule now. It's
mean,
just wild.
In terms of the being feeling like something was taken away from you, it's a bit interesting because the story dropped last night about David Fincher also having been developing a movie for Lucasfilm, and I don't think that story quite got the traction that the Ben Solo movie did, or even like this story years ago about Guillermo del Toro doing a Jabba the Hutt movie. That was like, oh, that would have been a cool idea, but it wasn't like the fire that Ben Solo lit. I think that was something else entirely. I think that had David Fincher been announced at Celebration this year, that would have been like crazy, and many people would have been excited. But I don't think that the level of outrage at the news that he is no longer doing this was anything speaking to that extent that you're talking about.
I
Mhm.
think I agree. I mean, Fincher is, a very sought after director, but I feel like the thing that separated that from Ben Solo is I think fans over the past, I guess, decade have been used to hearing about names attached to projects, but I think the specificity of this
Specificity,
one,
yeah.
I think that is what really pushed it over. But like you said, I thought that would blow up more as well.
Yeah, which is funny because the Adam Jarvis story was not very specific at all. It was like, yeah, we were gonna do something with Ben after Rise of Skywalker.
And
Yeah,
this
Wow,
you're
what
right.
was
You're
it
right.
then?
I guess it had
Because
it had all of the people that wanted to see him again, or they've seen him before, so they kind of, if
yeah,
I guess before The Force Awakens, if one of the original trilogy characters said they were going to make him
yeah,
another one, but then they decided not to, I think you'd see an uproar as
no, of
well.
course.
Mhm.
There's a different. What I mean to say is that it's not a general rule that reporting something was taken away will have this impact every time. I think that this was a
Right.
very specific set of circumstances. I also think that having a title helped. Having the
Mhm.
title put up of The Hunt for Ben Solo was really helpful for people to actually figure out that, okay, this was not an idea on a notebook somewhere or on
Mhm.
a napkin at some bar. This was actually being worked on. Because by the
It
way,
was
I
substantive.
still, yeah, exactly. So maybe you can have some theories for this. What was the hunt for Ben Solo? Like what does the title even mean? Because
I
I've always
Mhm.
thought about this like a philosophical hunt, like for like the bringing back Ben, and also at the same time maybe would have been like a physical journey to finding Ben back from the dead.
Mhm.
But the fact that Bob Iger said, okay, maybe why is he not dead?
Mhm.
That kind of turns my theory off. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
Luke
I was
mentioned this
hoping.
earlier.
Go ahead.
So yeah, Luke mentioned this earlier, more this like ethereal, like spiritual
Yeah,
type journey. And I think that given the romance hinted at the two of them, like there was like the kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker, of course, and you have the Raylos, of course. But I think that if you have two people on a journey, like the dyad of the Force is connecting the two of them in a way where you can bring in like a world between worlds or some sort of there's like in one comic there's like this force mycelial network that exists and it's you can create some weird force thing going on, and it's Kylo, or sorry, it's Ben, and he's on a physical journey to try to get to Rey, and Rey is on a physical journey trying to get to Ben in this spiritual type force realm, because the only way that he can return is if both of the pieces of the dyad are brought together. Like they have to return to one another. They have to be together in order for him to come back. But throughout this there's like all it's almost, you get into like mythology of there are certain trials that you have to go through in order for them to be reunited. Like what does that look like? And like it's Manslayer just put in the J's, like the two that are one, and you play into that, and you really play into that. It's a physical spiritual journey that they're going on to be reunited, and it's the only way that they can do that. But I love the idea that Rey has to choose to go on that journey too. Like she doesn't have to. Ben could just be, stuck in purgatory forever. But she like sacrifice. She's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself, where it's either both of us are coming back or none of us are coming back. And I think that's how you do that. And if you guys have other theories, go for it. But I did want to say, Miguel talking about how the David Fincher thing, is that just because you love the Social Network so much and you're like, how
so
dare people not be so excited about David
actually
Fincher?
no. I first of all, David Fincher is my favorite director. Like he is he will elevate any
Mm-hmm.
project he is working on. And the fact that yes, Social Network is one of my top 3 movies of all time. The fact that that movie is so good is not only because of the director, it's because of the script. He's a very good director. He will elevate any script, but he needs an excellent script to actually make an excellent movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I honestly, when I saw the news, I'm like, would have been cool. I don't think that this is what I would have wanted David Fincher working on next, like working 5 years of his life on, because I mean, would have been a much better movie than with any other director working on it. But I would again need a story reason for this movie to exist, rather than David Fincher was directing it.
Tom, Luke, what are your guys' theories too in terms of what is the hunt for Ben Solo?
I mean, I was hoping. Go ahead, Luke.
Sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's
I was thinking that I was just spinning ideas in my head of like what could even come of this. I don't know if this would strengthen the Rise of Skywalker. Like maybe it could be seen that way, but using the Sith Wayfinders going to a place and that's the place where you've lost Ben Solo, I think it'd be cool to introduce little Jedi light side trinkets that take you to an equal but opposite planet of Exegol, where it's possible to commune with Ben and maybe get him back. But there could be some kind of hunt to actually find the Jedi, not holocrons, but like something cool. So you're hunting for those items. Those items can lead you further in your hunt to Ben. Ben has to do some kind of spiritual digging or finding on his side. Like there could be an actual hunt story that's like almost, and I feel like I do this all the time, but like feels like Indiana Jones. You're like hunting for this artifact, leads you somewhere special. I think there could be a cool story that way that would make sense. And also is not something that's been done a lot before in Star Wars. I just like introducing new things that, you know, new literary devices that can work in Star Wars, because Star Wars is so big, it can contain so much. I think something like that could be cool that you could introduce.
I was thinking along, I mean, this is just me and people may not want this, but I was hoping that it would be more of a journey, kind of like what you guys are saying, that Rey is involved somehow. But we have almost, you know, one of my favorite shows of all time is Lost. And I love how they used flashback in that, and they used that to tell a story. And there's so much of the backstory that I feel like hasn't been given justice in some of the I guess, film or TV show mediums, like in the books and the comics and stuff. I feel, and I have to say I haven't really caught up with all of them, but I feel like there's so, when you get to The Force Awakens, and I know that they're trying to do some, I guess, with the New Republic era, Mandalorian and so forth, but I feel like there's so much that happened that they allude to in the sequel trilogy that it would have been great to see, or at least some of the circumstances. So I would love to see some of maybe Ben Solo's backstory. I think they could still pull that off with him, you know, and de-age whatever they need to do. But I would love that to be a big part of it as well. But I tell you, as we talk about this, it gets me more excited to some of the things they said about what the Rey movie would be about her training new Jedi. I mean, I feel like we've seen that so much that if Ben Solo is somehow a part of that movie or this story that we're talking about, I mean, that just interests me. I don't know. They can do whatever they want. I don't know what they're going to do, but I feel like the sequel trilogy really needed a real strong, like, next chapter. So, yeah, I would love to, you know, somehow explore some of the things that were brought up there. There's just a lot of stuff that was just left by the wayside. So in the way that the Clone Wars kind of made the prequels better, I was hoping that maybe they could do something like that here.
Starfighter comes out for the 50 year anniversary of Star Wars, and they're gonna have Star Wars Celebration. Is there a single, and obviously this is a hypothetical and this is a difficult question to answer, there's no real right answer, right? But is there a single thing that you can think of right now that would garner, just based off of the last couple of days maybe, that would garner the excitement, universal excitement, as if they were to bring, Daisy back on stage and say, hey, that movie is going into production, right now, and this is who's joining her, and they bring, Adam Driver out at a celebration to where like these two are going in to do this movie together. Because, and I don't know if there's one that gets, a bigger buzz than that, just seeing how excited people are maybe to have more Ben Solo or yearning for that. And I used to always think that would be John Boyega that would walk on stage with her. And I've always felt that at some point John would really want to come back to Star Wars.
He's too
And
busy
Adam was the
respecting
one
the
that
lore.
was, yeah, and Adam would be
Sorry,
the one.
what do you say?
I said he's too busy respecting the lore. His comments that he made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I always felt that would be what it is. And it's like, it doesn't feel like that's happening. And Adam's the one that's really been wanting to come back to Star Wars all this time. And so I'm wondering, is there
Honestly,
anything that gets us more
please.
excited than that?
Have that. Like, I am so sick of John Boyega after this last round of comments. Honestly, like, just
Yeah, I don't know what he was going for.
I don't want to hear anything about this anymore. Like, yes, would have been cooler with you at the helm. I'm sure that you had any very nice ideas. Move on. Like, I don't need any of this. And if again, like this, I think that the genuine thing that is driving this is the excitement about, because most people, or pretty much everyone, had assumed that Adam was moving on. That he was the only one that was just, you can pay me whatever you want. I would not come back because I want to do, Francis Ford Coppola movies for the rest of my life. And the fact that not only he actually said, I really wanted to do another Star Wars, but rather but even more went to the lengths of actually putting a movie together with Steven Soderbergh, that speaks of actually he really wants to come back. And so the genuine excitement, genuine interest from him about this, I think, is what drove all of this. Because if this was like, yeah, they talked to me about doing Hunt for Ben Solo, but I hadn't decided, and then it was like they didn't push it forward because Bob Iger said no. I don't think that we would be in this situation. I think that the Adam Driver being the main driver of this was what pushed it forward.
We'd be sitting here
think there's
going, man, it'd be nice if Adam would want to come back. Like we wish
Exactly.
he would. We would be right where we started. And the 50th year celebration of Star Wars, that it's going to be a great time to remember and honor the legacy of Star Wars. But how fitting would it be if you bring Daisy and Adam out there to announce, like, hey, the saga is closed, but here is the new chapter. Like, here's our first new chapter to really, like, in a really significant way, push Star Wars forward. And not that Starfighter can't do that, but it's its own separate thing. And this would kind of fall in line more of like a classic, like, Star Wars, narrative that we're still telling with the two very prominent characters. I just can't imagine anything getting more hype from an event like that than those two
probably
people.
an announcement that Luke, Leia, and Han are gonna be in the Dave Filoni movie, but I think that's just an adrenaline rush from in the moment that would later not pan out, because then it would be like criticized to oblivion about AI and about the aging when it's like super fake and so on. So I think that'd be an adrenaline rush of like the first couple of hours and then just die down. So I agree that this would be quite exciting. I also think that there's a very good chance that Daisy shows up at the end of Starfighter, so maybe this is not the best announcement to have at Celebration.
I would love for her to show up
Indeed.
in the Starfighter.
I was going to say, I feel like there's another factor that's at play that's like why this phenomenon of the past couple days has been so big, and it's like, it's Adam Driver that's saying this, and he has a main character that was in the movies so prominently, and him saying that he wanted to be back has just so much weight. Whereas, like, I've heard comments from many other actors over the years of like, oh man, if I could be in Star Wars, oh, I would. And it's some, A-list actor or something. And that doesn't hold weight. That doesn't really go far. He's not going to make anything happen. That guy over there, that guy over there. This guy was a main character. He's not, a writer. He's not a director, but like one of the main characters wants to come back, like Ewan McGregor saying like, man, I'd love to play Kenobi again. And he gets to be Kenobi again. Hayden Christensen, maybe not as vocal about it, but when your main characters want to come back, like it feels easier to make that happen.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be just another thing at play. It was just swimming around in my head. Like I think that's also why it's just caught fire so much, is it's not just a side character.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't Rose Tico saying like, I'd love to come back. Like it's Adam. Like it's a main character saying like, get me back. I can't imagine what would happen if someone like Oscar Isaac were to be like, I would love to like come back and play Poe Dameron. I can't. There's wheels that would turn there. So I just feel like that's another thing at play.
I also feel like they've been. I feel like they've been having a hard time getting the Rey movie off the ground. You know, how many writers have they gone through? And we said, is the director really going to be still on the project? I mean, maybe they're making their pitch. You know, maybe Steven Soderbergh will return and Adam Driver will return, but I don't know if they're going to. I feel like that would elevate the interest in that movie greatly. And I think the people that even aren't fans of the sequel era will at least be interested in seeing what they do. You know, I think it's all about buzz right now. And I think that would generate a ton of buzz if that happens. But like we probably wouldn't find out for a couple of years at this point.
I was just thinking, based on what Luke said, like what other actor, like for this specific set of circumstances, would cause this? Like, I do not think that had Oscar Isaac said, you know, during the Frankenstein tour, yeah, there was like, I was talking to Kathy for a couple of years. We were developing this idea for, you know, Poe, leader of the rebellion, and you know, ultimately it didn't move forward because of that. I don't think that it would have worked as much. And Oscar is also a guy who doesn't really want to come back unless it's for a paycheck. Yeah, there's something specific about Adam and the character of Ben that really drove this.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier, Miguel, about it. It was the fact that he had been excited enough and seemingly cared so much about this character that he went and helped put a movie idea like together. It wasn't like when Ewan keeps talking about wanting to come back and play Obi-Wan. Like, I don't think Ewan is putting together a team of people to write a script for Obi-Wan season 2 and come up with everything, you know, for that story. He's just like, hey, like, let's do it. Like, I'm ready whenever you guys are. Like, this was very different. It was, you know, I think that people, like if Poe, like if Oscar Isaac came together and said, yeah, that Rogue Squadron movie, like I was actually going to be starring in Rogue Squadron and it was going to be this fighter. But I think people will get really excited, like, and would be upset about that. But there's merit to both here. But yeah, there is something intangible about Ben Solo. He's a Skywalker. You know, he is in many ways the legacy that we've been, you know, watching for 50 years now. And the way, I think there was just a lot of people. I think one of the most universal things in Star Wars right now is that, yes, sure, there's the whole Ben Solo redeemed. He was able to save the person he loved when Anakin wasn't able to save the person he loved. But there's just, I think almost universally people are upset that he died. And you had like Leia and Han, the two of the, you know, OGs sacrificing themselves for their son, just for their son not to live and their son to die as well. And that's just not sitting right with a lot of people, myself included. And I'm really happy that Rey's still around, but I'm really upset that, you know, Adam Driver, that Ben Solo died. So I think that if you are able to create this workaround that makes sense, like with the story, and it seems maybe they did, it would feel right. It would feel great. And I don't know. I think that there is something to be said. You know, they say all the time at these conventions that, you know, we listen to the fans. Like, we want to listen to the fans. And this is one of those moments where Star Wars did not get any buzz from a Mando and Grogu trailer. Andor was awesome. Great word of mouth with Andor. But, you know, streaming shows, especially on Disney+, they don't hold the cultural weight that a Star Wars movie holds. And we're still, you know, the jury's still out on Starfighter. And I think, but people were really excited about, you know, Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy. Like, I think they were really excited about that, but didn't feel like this kind of emotional wave that we got with this Ben Solo thing. And so, like, if that's true, if you're actually, you know, listening and you are taking into account, this has to make those people at Lucasfilm or even Disney stop and think, okay, Adam, if he still really wants to come back, if this wasn't like some, you know, conspiracy ploy, you know, we've talked about to gauge the interest, if this is just a general, overnight this tidal wave happened, if you're not stopping and thinking, how can we bring Ben Solo into Star Wars for the future and either help our Rey movie that's struggling or create a whole new narrative based off of an idea that we used to have, like, then that just goes out the window. You're not listening to fans at that point anymore.
100% think that they are hosting meetings about this. Like Disney and Lucasfilm are definitely meeting about this. Like there's no way, if again Bob Iger is getting hundreds of comments on his Instagram account about this, like, and this is just an example, like very specific, but they're like floating the zone about this. I mean, if they brought back the Clone Wars years ago when there was a much less, I mean, this is a spike, yes, but I think that it's a something significant that I'm not saying that they're going to move forward. I'm saying they are talking about it for sure. I do not see any other way.
Absolutely. And Manslayer is saying here, like, what's the power of all this then? Will the movie get made? I don't think this specific movie is ever going to get made. Like that, maybe they have, maybe, who knows? But like Miguel just said, there's no way that they have not noticed the absolute downpour that has happened on social media and what that could mean for the future of Star Wars, because they desperately need some wins in the theatrical department and just in terms of getting people really excited. And like, I know, I Tom, and I have to apologize to you because I have not talked to you about this really all week. And but I will say, I didn't talk to Luke about this either. And I barely decided to text Miguel and like the Discord thread about this because I really wanted to, I knew we were all going to be here Thursday. I know Miguel was going to join us till yesterday, and I just wanted like the pure, you know, I didn't want to know anything of what you guys were thinking, but I knew when I saw this, I'm like, I know Tom is so excited right now, but also like so frustrated because he goes, oh, I would have loved this. And same thing for Luke. And I feel like that's the general sentiment that's out there right now, where even people that aren't excited don't necessarily think this is a great idea. You're at least sitting there going, okay, I'm intrigued. Like, I want to hear more. At least it's not just a downright, oh, get that out of here.
And we've talked, I mean, for us, we've talked about this before about things that, you know, and I don't like to, you know, we mentioned John Boyega, and I don't like to be a Monday morning quarterback and talk about, oh, they should have done this, they should have done that. We got what we got, but this was one case where I felt hypocritical, but I was like, oh man, that would have been pretty cool. I think, you know, who knows what it would have been.
Would have respected the lore, right, Luke?
Yeah. I felt kind of cheated, and I think, and because you felt like it was a missed opportunity in a way that, like we said, there was unfinished business for Adam Driver, the actor, and for Ben Solo, the character. So I think, more disappointed about that than what the quality of the movie, if that makes any sense. I wanted them to address some of the things that maybe they fumbled on. And so yeah, that's how I was feeling. So, and I think the story has legs. I think, like I said, it's going to be kind of like a, you know, kind of the memes are going to continue. And I think maybe, like I said, Celebration, someone's going to, you know, do something there, like, you know, to honor the story. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think, as Miguel said, I think they're listening too. I think
there'll be some sort of online gathering of like, hunt for Ben Solo, you know, supporters, like, meet here at this time, and we're gonna, you know, hold our signs together. We're gonna have a get together. You know, there's gonna be some
Room
sort of
213A.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll move the needle, but I think they're listening, and I don't think they're gonna make any official comments. I don't think they would do that, but I think that
Breaking
it will
news.
influence. I think it will influence movies going forward for Lucasfilm.
December
say,
17th, 2029.
You guys were sharing conspiracy theories, and I have a 2-second one here.
Go for it.
Manslayer asks, "Will the movie get made?" My conspiracy theory is they made the movie. They're not releasing it though. They filmed it. It's ready. They're just not
So, okay.
releasing it.
I
Adam's
was
already
thinking
seen it.
about this earlier. Because I mean, you know that Soderbergh is known for like shooting movies on his iPhone. So wouldn't it be cool if he was actually going to shoot a Star Wars movie on an iPhone? And
That's
when
what
Luke said
Biger.
that, I'm like, what if he did?
I will say I love the fact that Bob Iger's just getting dunked on everywhere. Like I'm okay with that. That's been something I love. Like I'm serious. I went to the man's Instagram account because I was just curious. I was like, I wonder what if there's been people on there just trolling him or whatever. And I just sat there going scrolling, just like scrolling, and I would stop and read a few just to see if it was still. And it's like, yeah, hashtag Hunt for Ben Solo. I just kept going and going, and some of these accounts just spammed him like 100 times, like the same. I'm just seeing the same account over and over and over, and then a whole host. My favorite one was like, "You are now public enemy #1 of the entire fandom. You will regret what you have done." I'm like, oh my gosh, like Star Wars fans are insane. Like that person needs to be locked up. Like that's crazy. It's just, and one person, I think there was a comment that's been like, "Storm the gates of the castle immediately." But
riot.
oh man.
Okay.
So Star Wars
maybe-
Visions comes out next week.
There's a
Let me say, yeah,
Go
go ahead. Tom.
no. I was going to say there's just a random thing that he posted about Disney celebrates America. It was one of his posts, and then someone says, "You know what you need to do, Robert."
Like completely just. I wonder how long it's gonna. You know what you need to do. Like,
I was gonna ask to wrap up the discussion. What 0 to 100? What is the percentage that the Hunt for Ben Solo gets released in theaters?
0 to 100.
like that exact title, like not like a
Yeah.
something else. It's,
Directed by Steven Soderbergh. Hunt for Ben Solo stars Adam Driver.
Not on iPhone.
Comes out.
Shot on iPhone. It's
I
an
would say
85%.
I would say it's low, but I feel like they're going to roll the ideas into something else, whether it be the Rey movie or something else. I think that what was in that, some of the concepts, I think, are going to appear in other places.
I'd say 5%, but if you
Really?
like 5-10%, I don't think it'd be the Hunt for Ben Solo. Like I think that they will adapt something. If you ask me the chances that we'll see Ben Solo again, I'd say like 99%. Like at this
Really?
point, like I thought maybe we'll never see Ben Solo again, but after hearing how much Adam Driver's wanting to be Ben Solo again, I would almost put like there's no way we don't see Adam Driver in Star Wars again. Like that would just shock me. Now I don't think it's going to be called The Hunt for Ben Solo by Steven Soderbergh. I think we could see something very similar to what they had made and adapted in a different way. But so I'll put that at low. But in terms of seeing Ben Solo, if you're just asking me that, 99%. Like I can't imagine that not happening now that the fans especially are aware of this. Like, and he's even just speaking about it. Like he hasn't said anything about this. So I'm excited about that. And at least makes me pretty excited.
Yeah, and I said 85%. This thing's getting made and released. The masses have the power, and the people will rise up and make action happen. So it's happening.
It's not.
Yes,
It's just,
I am confident.
It's just people.
I was
say
going to
one
make
more
that joke
thing?
earlier.
Yeah, one
What
more thing
Navy is
too,
this?
about people talking. I mean, I think Manslayer said something, or someone commented that Resurrection in Star Wars is more of a feature than a bug. So, or the other way around. Feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because even in Rise of Skywalker, when Han Solo showed up again, and I was like, I love that scene, but I was like, that was kind of strange in a way. But then I think back to what Yoda said in The Empire Strikes Back, through the Force, you know, places people, you know, old friends long gone. So I think they can find a way to do it.
I'm actually gonna say
Absolutely.
30. I think there's a decent chance, not likely, but decent chance that this movie actually gets made.
That would at this point
That'd be
I'm like, I just want it. I just want it just for the hell of it. Like, please.
You know, not just that, but like I feel like, you know, great director, great actor, you know, supposedly the script is great. How much would that mean to the fans if they actually turned around and made this movie? Like, you know, I don't know. That's kind of a big ask, obviously, but like you said, if there is a chance that it gets made, I mean, the fans, you know, I think that would be huge for the fandom.
I mean, of course, the question that the question that you have to answer here is how much of this transitions into actual box office dollars. Because I mean, the Snyder Cut proved that you can have an army of trolls online, like make up a bubble that is much smaller than you actually think. And I think that this would be like the main fear if I were at Lucasfilm. Is like how much of this is going to transition into an opening weekend, you know?
If
Which
you
is fair.
create a story that you can, I think that if you have, I think the power of Rey and Ben Solo, that is enough. I think that's enough. It's been long enough. You get people excited. You have the Falcon in the teaser trailer. You can create a forced world where you are not fan servicing people because if it's true to the story, and you can have a world where Hayden Christensen is in Star Wars again because of the tie he has to Adam Driver as well as Anakin, and you could create a world where you have all three of them in a movie, and it still pushes the story and narrative of Star Wars forward without tying yourself to just nostalgia baiting people into what was, and easily pushing forward and creating new Star Wars lore, creating something we haven't seen before. And that alone, I think people are going to at least get that general, you know, first few weeks at the box office, like they're going to go see it. Now, in terms of like legs, you know, long lasting legs to go to see it, like that, of course, will just 100% on this ride. But if you're wanting to get butts in the seats, I think, you know, if you just have Rey and Ben and you do this and fans feel like, hey, we partially made this happen, that's enough. And then, like I said, Hayden, you could easily be involved. Yoda can pop up. You have plenty of legacy type characters that can show up in a movie like this, and it makes sense. Hey, she can show up. Jaina and Finn can be there. We're still respecting the lore here.
TZ1719.
This is actually post Rise of Skywalker story. You know, with the you know, hell, we can include whoever we want. It's fine. Claude, of course, win the war.
That's
not Claude. That's not Claude. But you know, I just anytime I think of Claude, I just think of Mark Hamill's character that died and we saw his head. But win the war. Anyway, but no, if it gets made, I'm telling you, I don't know where y'all will be, but we'll coordinate where we're gonna watch it together. I don't care. We'll drop everything.
We're gonna go to Spain to see it.
Sounds good.
We're coming to Spain, Miguel.
You're more than welcome.
Yes, I'll be there in 8 months, Miguel.
Nice.
Nervous?
Am I nervous? It's 8 months away. I'm not nervous yet.
Okay.
I get nervous about like money. Like I'm excited to go to Spain. Like I can't wait for that. I'm excited. Like that's gonna be awesome. Now, will I be broke afterwards? Probably. And we'll see. Like I don't know, but I'm thrilled for it to happen. But the fact that Miguel says 30%, and Miguel normally is very, you know, conservative with these things. So, and Luke said 85, and Luke is incredibly optimistic all the time. Okay, we're looking. This movie has like a 55% chance of getting made. Like we're entering coin flip or above territory with this movie. That's what we love to see right there. This is high stakes now. Anything else before we wrap up? You guys good?
I'm good.
Just thank everyone for the comments and
yes,
for showing up tonight. It was a great discussion.
Well, the Star Wars Visions come out this week, or is it next week?
Next Wednesday.
Should be the 29th. Should be next Friday.
29th is next
No, it's
Friday.
Wednesday.
Sorry,
Halloween.
Wednesday. 29th is right. I got the day of the month wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chris, we've been on here for 90
Very
minutes, and you're
exciting.
dropping me a comment of, do you think we would have seen a clone? We would have seen a clone mission of Supreme Leader Snoke in his throne room from The Last Jedi. Luke Skywalker goes in World Between Worlds, and the clone being Palpatine. My brain is having a hard time processing right now, but
Yeah. Maybe
drop
next
that in the
week.
comments. We will address this next Thursday because it's been an hour and a half. We'll address this next Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. You drop that in the comments after the show. I will go ahead. They'll be the first thing on the docket next Thursday. We'll probably not do a Visions breakdown. I don't think I'll have time to watch next Wednesday everything with Visions, but at some point we'll do like a Vision show. Maybe we just do a separate podcast for Visions, and we can come on and talk about
really
it.
looking forward to
that'd be
it.
fun. I finished The Last Order. I'm going to be writing that review over the next couple of days for Star Wars Newsnet. It'll be a weird review because it will not be a glowing review, but it won't be me saying the book is not worth reading. It's just going to be a very weird, convoluted mess, but it's fine. It'll be fun. And then Luke and I are going to have episode 54 of the Timeline Show very soon, talking about Edge of Balance Volume 2. Now that I finished Last Order, I can read that, Luke, and should be able to finish
It'll take 45 minutes.
Yeah, I'll finish that like probably tomorrow or Saturday,
Yeah.
and then we can record Sunday or Monday. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun. As always, for Light and Life, everyone, remember that we are all hunting for Ben Solo together.